right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in to another really fun episode of building out Azure Lagoon, the ultimate theme park water park. And last episode was very water park based, and I would argue just about every single episode is water park based. But if you can't already tell from what I'm fooling around with, today we are going to be building our very first roller coaster, which is so exciting. I've been looking forward to this. So I'm getting started by just checking out the different loading stations that there are, because really I didn't realize that there were so many options. I considered doing a separate loading and unloading station, but then just ended up deciding to do a combined left-sided load because, I mean, not to spoil it, because you'll find out in like quite literally 30 seconds, this is actually a dueling coaster. Because I found out about the ride sync function that Planet Coaster has and thought it would be really cool to be able to put that to use and really challenge myself, because not only is this my really first big like fully developed coaster build, we're not only building one, we're building two, and they're not perfectly identical. There are sections, especially in like the chain lift and the first loop, which you'll see, where they are extremely similar. I don't think they're 100% a perfect mirror, but they're extremely close to it. But anything just about after that really leans into that dueling aspect, where one coaster is doing this thing and the other coaster is doing that thing, which maybe intersects a little bit into their loops or the corkscrews or whatever. I'm not going to get into it too much until we get to those points, but I had an absolute blast designing this. Like I said, really my first time fully dedicating myself to building something. I built like a pretty small-ish non-inverting coaster in my ASureThink campaign, but it really wasn't much. I actually didn't do like any scenery or anything like that. So this is my first inverting coaster build. So I was starting out by just playing through the different inversions, non-inversions that they have available, because there are quite a couple pages of them. So I wanted to kind of familiarize myself a little bit and get an idea for what I wanted to do. And I found these finish loops, which I thought worked really cool with the like the side-by-side one can be going down to the left, the other can be going down to the right. And here I made a little mistake. I don't know if it's super quite noticeable, but I do fix it pretty soon, where I didn't realize I made one loop way bigger than the other one. So when I was running testing for this coaster, one of the coasters would always end up out of the loop way faster than the other, and I'm like, why is this happening? Did I do something wrong? Yes, Natalie, you did something very wrong. quick comment here that if you ever see like a really funny cut, like right there, it's not because I'm really hiding anything from you guys or that I don't want to show pieces of the process. 99.999% of the time, it's because I got distracted by pulling something up, like on my YouTube video, like changing videos, searching something up. I did have to look up quite a couple of commands for this. Like for example, hopefully the end product results of when I show off the finished product looks a lot better, because I finally figured out how to hide the UI in the game, which I should have figured out sooner, but I just wasn't really thinking about it. So they look a lot better quality later on. But I also wanted to talk a little bit more about my process here, or I guess lack thereof of a process. Really, I'm just winging it. Oh, and see, there is where I started to figure out like, hey, that's probably why your coasters aren't fully synced. But in terms of like how I approached this, really there wasn't any specific thing I was trying to accomplish, but rather I really wanted to focus on having some intersecting elements between the two coasters and making sure that even if they do have differing elements, their speeds are still matched for the most part throughout. So when you're riding one coaster, you see the other one and vice versa. And that might be interacting by like here, where I'm maybe going underneath the, I think that's a barrel inversion, maybe not, don't quote me on that, or above. I play around with this quite a bit because it was a little bit awkward in the intersection, but it does end up working pretty well. I do a really cool 0G roll right towards the end of the ride, which I think looks really fantastic because they're not like parallel with each other, kind of how the finish rolls are, but rather they're a little bit separated, so it has this really cool skyline look when you put it against the sky. Also, I'm pretty sure I meant to say loops there, so apologies to roller coaster enthusiasts that know every single type of roll and loop and inversion and that kind of thing. That is not me. I don't know these things at all, so I'm really learning as I go. In just a couple of minutes, I'm going to be finishing up this coaster, and we're going to kind of take a look at some of the first-person perspectives from the seat view of how things look on both sides, right? But I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about how rough this coaster is. And I'm coming from speaking in hindsight of like, I now have the experience, like I've worked on these coasters, and I kind of know a little bit more what I'm doing, but these are rough. So don't try and credit me as some sort of fancy schmancy builder, like I'm building all these super cool realistic coasters. Honestly, these coasters might honestly like make someone pass out or get them very sick, which is highly realistic. Maybe kill them. I don't know. Hopefully not. Maybe not kill them, but definitely get someone sick because these turns are really not smooth at all. I think in hindsight, going back, I wish I would have had a little bit more focus on taking up a little bit more space with the entirety of the coaster, because I wanted this to be not a huge coaster. Well, I say coaster, it's 2 coasters, obviously. I didn't want it to be massive and take up a whole bunch of space, but I think I kind of let fear guide me in a way, and thus it was almost like unmanageably too small. Like all of these loops, all of these really cool inversions and these top hats and stuff like are way too big for the scale of what I've built. And I think just in general, what I've found is that it's never a bad idea to go a little bit bigger. Not in just the fact of taking up space, but that allows you to have more smooth banking with these turns. And I'd also argue like I probably should have used longer track lengths. Like even right here at the end where I'm trying to reel it in to the end, that is uncomfortably like short curves that would feel very uncomfortable. And again, I'm gonna go ahead and say like I'm not someone that's gonna boast myself as being the most realistic park or the most realistic builder, but I do try and strive to have some level of realism in my builds. I'm looking back and I wish I did things a little bit differently, but that is the whole fun of the process, is learning this game and becoming better with every single build. This section towards the end that has the 2 0G rolls was really frustrating, and I had to end up rebuilding the left coaster specifically quite a couple times, because as you can see from that last test, there just wasn't enough momentum to be able to make that. And so I had to run a lot of tests over and over, and then I would slow it down right when it would get to that section, and boom, it still wasn't working. So I ended up remaking it a couple times, and I think the solution was just about as simple as it gets. Just make the upcoming like dive right before you get into the roll a lot grander, so it does build the momentum to get into that roll. But actually, one of my favorite things about this ride, which I forgot to mention a little bit earlier on, and you'll see it when we go into the first person mode to be able to see what the ride looks like, is that on that finish loop, it has this little moment of hang at the top where you're upside down before it actually completes the loop. And I think it is so fun. It has this really cool suspension moment where it's still got just enough momentum to get over that hill. And later on, I actually do end up adding a ride camera at that point to take pictures of people. It was a really nice moment where the excitement's really high. The fear is like moderately high, like high enough to be like at a good level, but they're also not nauseous either, because the update that came out with the ride cameras in the souvenir shops quite literally just came out, I think like 1 or 2 weeks ago while I was on vacation, so I haven't gotten a chance to play around with it, but I'm really excited to implement that, to be able to put the souvenir shops and stuff. So right now there is a ride camera, but there is no souvenir shop built to be able to actually see the guests' pictures. And so with that being said, we're actually rounding up the final changes to the coaster. So in just a moment, I'll go ahead and show you guys the first person camera mode from both of the perspectives of the coaster. I do end up having to go in and tweak a couple of like banking smoothing, but other than that, this is just about the final product. So we'll be moving on to building the coaster entryway as well as the pathing and all of the scenery everywhere. I would like to argue that out of the two coasters, this one's probably a little bit smoother in the curves. I do find the first one's a little bit rough at some points, but I will have to subtract some points for this one literally intersecting so blatantly with the other track. Oh, here I'm going ahead and fixing that. I mean, pretty easy solution, but I was laughing out loud when I was riding the first person and saw that. And so to anyone who's building coasters or even flumes, I highly encourage you to utilize that first person tool as much as you can. Honestly, I probably should have utilized it a little bit more, especially when building that first coaster, because there are some sections that I feel like just riding it like in person would be like, ooh, that hurt, like not in like a fun, good way, but like in an actual hurt way. So yeah, definitely utilize the tool because you're going to be able to see things that are a little bit more difficult to spot from just looking down, as you just saw with that interesting collision. So when I was designing this coaster and I was building the track and putting everything together, I was like, this is peak, like this is so much fun, this is gonna be my favorite part. I'm gonna get so annoyed when I actually have to build the platform and build the pathing and put all the scenery down, because I just want to build coasters and I just want to build tracks and have fun with it. And I actually really surprised myself because I really had a blast designing this coaster entryway, which I did not think that I would. I've mentioned in the past, I'm really not a big fan of, personally myself, building buildings specifically, and I know Planet Coaster 2 has been a lot better about giving users the capability to build buildings more easily. Especially, I'm a really big fan of the grid system, which I do remember having in Planet Coaster 1, but it is much more improved to my knowledge in this game, and we have a lot of really interesting pieces to be able to put together. So that's what I'm going ahead and getting started on, is building up this area, and for whatever reason I'm like struggling to figure out how to actually do that, but I think it ends up looking pretty cool. And so in terms of the theming of these coasters, I thought about what I wanted to do while I was building these, and I really didn't end up coming up with anything, so I consulted my good old friend ChatGPT, which I feel like this is a really good use case of ChatGPT, because I feel like people either overutilize it or underutilize it just like in their daily lives, but it can do some really fun stuff. And for example, I usually like to input like, hey, I have this dueling coaster that I built. My resort is really tropical themed. Like, do you have any cool suggestions for the theming for this coaster? And so I ended up deciding upon one of the suggestions was to do serpent versus orchid, to have this like really interesting like contrast between like the like lush and venomous serpent snake theming, and then have this really pretty and bright like flower theming. And I thought it fit really perfectly too with our entire park theming of being very tropical. Even in the just non-water park sections, I wanted to have something more tropical themed too. And I thought pink and green is such a really cool contrasting color choice as well. So I was super pleased with that suggestion, and so that's what I end up building out here. So I'm using these like bamboo wood walls, and then I end up using the like whatever it's called, like hay or straw, like roofing for it. And I'm gonna be honest, this is probably the most improvement we could get in this build in general. This building is quite lackluster, especially on the outside, I'm not gonna lie. But I'm just super pleased with my progress, honestly, because this is my first time using the building grid tool, or just building a building in general. So I think it comes out great. And especially when we start adding those decor in there and all the pathing, it really comes out pretty nicely. And unfortunately, I'd like to add that it took me an embarrassingly long time to try and figure out how grid size and grid height worked. I guess I just didn't realize that that was an option, even though it was clearly right there. But that would have saved me so much effort in the long run. As you can see, I'm still kind of struggling to put this roof together. Really, it looks super basic, but this is really my first time playing around with building buildings like of no preset or anything like that, just using the grid technique and putting all these pieces together. So I'm gonna cut myself a little bit of slack and say this is a really good first attempt, honestly. I was about to make some joke about how this is the episode where I try lots of different things, but in reality, I feel like every single episode I really try something new, like to incorporate something different. And so here I'm trying to make like a smoke effect for when the coaster drives out of the station. I think that'd be really neat, and I don't know how triggers work. I don't know how these animations work. So I end up like playing around with it for like kind of an embarrassingly long time, but I do get it to work eventually. And I do think it's a really cool effect. And there are lots of really cool effects that I see and I would love to play with in this game. Like, how cool would it be to set up like a stage and do like a fireworks show or something like that? Maybe like themed for New Year's Eve or even for like the 4th of July, even though like these episodes are coming out like close to like September, October, Halloween time. But I just want to play around with those kind of things because I think they look super cool. We're kind of rounding out the segment of working on the interior of the ride station, and I think it came out super cute. It's pretty basic, honestly, on both sides particularly, but in terms of what I was going for, I just wanted to put a whole bunch of greenery on the serpent side and put a bunch of flowery like decor on the orchid side. There's really not much to it. Like I said before, this really isn't my forte and I'm trying to learn, but I think it turns out really cute. And I put these planters on the side, and yes, I know the soil is like sideways and that is totally unrealistic, but if you just kind of like squint your eyes, then it just looks like a cute little planter box. so this is a super weird segment that I wanted to like pop in and explain. Essentially, I am here laying down different plants, trees, and shrubbery from the Mediterranean and all of the tropical brushes because I wanted to specifically make a scenery brush that only included the ones that I liked. Like, there were some Mediterranean trees that I really, really liked, and then there were some that were more sprucey that I wasn't a huge fan of and didn't think fit the aesthetic very well. And I'm also kind of going through and picking out specific things that I did not see in either of these packs, just because I did take kind of a smaller sampling and placing them down because I don't know why, but for whatever reason, I thought this was the way that you made a custom scenery brush. Like, you just picked all the different things that you wanted, you selected them, and created a brush. And I'm like, gosh dang it, that is not how that works. Oh my goodness. Yeah, so apparently you actually have to go and hand select all of them, which was really frustrating. And you guys want to know something even more frustrating is that for whatever reason, I had to do this like literally 3 times because for whatever reason, maybe I didn't save, maybe I don't know what happened, but the brush was gone, so I had to go in and hand select them all over again, which was really frustrating. And then I was like, why are we limiting how many brush items that we can have? Like, I feel like we should be able to really put as many as we want. I don't know, but anyway, so yeah, that's what's going on here. Man, watching this back is so hard because I wish I could just scream to myself, hey Natalie, turn a line to surface on. It's going to make your life so much easier, and then you don't have to go back and manually place every single rock because they're floating in the air weirdly. It just makes sense, but hindsight is 2020. This is a learning process, and yes, I know what a line to surface does, and I've used it before. I don't know why I'm not thinking about it here. It makes your life so much easier. about you guys, but it's the little details that really make or break it for me. And that's why I really like to spend a lot of time with these signs, right? And putting specific details for each ride, or even just the height tracker to make sure your riders are the right height, right? Realistically, it does absolutely nothing for your game. And honestly, absolutely no one's gonna notice it, but I know it's there and it makes me happy. And a lot of these assets are from the Steam Workshop, so if you're interested in any of these, let me know and I could totally find links for them and share them, because these creators are amazing. And while I really appreciate that level of detail, making the thing itself is not usually very fun for me, so I can appreciate when I can kind of abstract at least some of that work. So I mentioned earlier in the video about adding in some ride cameras to that specific moment that I was talking about, where the guests are hanging in suspension for just a moment in time, having that feeling of like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna fall out of this roller coaster and die. But you're not actually. It's really fun. Really back in. I'm adding in the ride cameras from that because that was, at the time of this video being created, the most recent update. Now, you'll be watching this video in like April of, or at least when it comes out, like April of 2026. And I mentioned earlier in the video that some of these videos came out kind of towards the end of 2025, like October, November. And yes, that was actually the truth. That was when these videos were coming out. But in full honesty, life kind of happened. And so I had a lot of these videos. I want to say episodes 1 through 4 were out. And then this episode, which I'm currently working on right now and talking about, was about halfway edited. Some life stuff happened. I'm okay now, but it took me away from doing stuff like this for quite some time, which is really unfortunate because I really, really enjoy doing this. And this series is really not something that I'm doing because I think it's profitable or I think there's like a career out of it or something. Obviously, I don't think these things. I just genuinely like want to share my enjoyment for the game, and this is the way that I can do that, because if you can't make something that you enjoy watching and like make content for yourself that you would watch yourself, then why are you making it in the first place at all? And so that's kind of my philosophy with that. I also wanted to like really quickly point out, it was kind of funny, I made those really cool ride signs, which I think turned out pretty sick, and then put them on the wrong queue paths, meaning the one that I had for Serpent was for the Orchid coaster, and so on and so forth. But yeah, just wanted to throw that in there. Timeline wise, when I mentioned earlier about the ride cameras being a new feature, that is not a new feature at all. A lot of really cool updates and DLC have come out since then that I haven't got the opportunity to explore, but I'm really excited for that. Perfect, so we are kind of getting down to the end of the video, wrapping up some of those final details. Usually I kind of end with some of the lighting to see how it looks, add some kind of dynamic lighting pointing to the coaster itself, and then some path lighting as well. Just adding a couple more scenery details, those tropical type brushes. I would describe generally my style when it comes to games like this, especially with Planet Coaster and all the endless opportunity for creativity that it provides, is that I am like an uber maximalist. But sometimes I feel like maybe I don't have the skill set to be a super great maximalist. So I kind of compensate by just adding in a whole bunch of stuff and hoping it looks really good together. And that's not me dogging on myself. That's just me genuinely sharing my process. And it's really fun. Like, I really, really enjoy doing this. I think it turned out really sick. It really does. Some of these cinematic shots that I ended up getting in the end look super cool. Like I said earlier, I finally figured out how to hide the UI. You would think I would have learned to do that before. I think my trick was that, I was just like in post zooming in a little bit so you couldn't see the UI. So the quality was a little bit worse, but we're working on that. I'm not a video editor or anything along the lines of that. So I'm learning, as I say 1,000,001 times throughout this episode and many more. But if you got to this point, thank you so much for watching. Genuinely, I'm really happy to be back and making more content, even though it was a really big time gap. I'm super excited. Thank you so much for watching. We've got some really, really cool stuff coming in the future. Like I said, I feel like I learned a lot from the things that I did, not only in this episode, but in a couple episodes coming up. We've got more coasters coming. We've got more buildings coming, getting really into exploring those nitty-gritty details. And yeah, so let's take a look at the final product, and thanks, and I'll see you in the next one.
can go up, up, whatever you want. There's nothing we can't do, 'cause we can go up, and that's what we're going to do. Yeah, we can jump up, we can get down, up, mix it all up. We can go up, up,